Billionaire pretended to be a janitor. Her boss tried to buy her love. Then this happened. Before we begin the story, please leave a comment letting us know where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. It was a foggy Monday morning in San Francisco, and most employees of Greenvolt Technologies were rushing through the glass doors of the company's downtown headquarters. The lobby buzzed with chatter, polished shoes clicked on the marble floor, and the scent of fresh coffee lingered in the air. No one paid attention to the man who walked in through the staff entrance in oversized khaki pants, a faded hoodie, and rubber-soled shoes. His name tag read Eli the Janitor, but his real name was Ethan Cole, the billionaire founder and secret CEO of Greenvolt, a rising tech empire known for its smart home energy systems. Ethan was 34, tall, quiet, and sharp. He had founded Greenvolt 5 years ago, but stayed completely off the radar. No press, no photos, no online presence. He worked behind the scenes under a different name, letting his executive team run the front lines. Why hide? Because Ethan had been burned. Deeply. Women only saw the money. Fake friends surrounded him. Even a former fiancé once said to his face, "You're only special because of your bank account." That was the last straw. "I want to see how people treat me when they think I'm nobody," Ethan had told his assistant, Marcus Dean, just a week earlier. "I'll work as a janitor. No status. No power, no name. If someone can love me like that, she deserves everything." "You'll be scrubbing toilets," Marcus warned. "That's the point," Ethan replied. The transformation was intense. He let his hair grow out slightly messy, used skin-darkening powder to appear more tan, wore thrifted clothes, and even changed the tone of his voice. Rougher, less polished. Nobody recognized him. That morning, he walked into the janitor's office and met the lead custodian, Mrs. Green, an older woman with tired eyes and zero interest in small talk. "Name?" she asked without looking up. "Eli." "New guy, huh? You got lobby A, restrooms, and cafeteria floors." "Clock in. Don't be late. You don't work for me, you work for the company." "Understood?" "Yes, ma'am." And just like that, Ethan's double life began. He grabbed a mop, bucket, gloves, and disinfectant. The weight of it all hit quickly, literal and emotional. His back hurt within hours. His knees burned from kneeling. His hands got calloused from scrubbing gum off tiles. But he never complained. Instead, he paid attention. People brushed past him like he didn't exist. Some stepped over his mop. Others dropped wrappers right beside his trash cart without a word. Executives walked by, eyes forward, never acknowledging his presence. But Ethan wasn't surprised. He expected this. What he didn't expect was her. That afternoon, while mopping near the IT department, he noticed a young woman sitting alone in the cafeteria corner. She was eating rice out of a lunchbox, her worn-out sneakers tucked under the chair. She smiled warmly at an elderly cleaner who limped past and handed him her bottle of water. That small act made Ethan pause. Billionaire pretended to be a janitor. Her boss tried to buy her love. Then this happened. Before we begin the story, please leave a comment, letting us know where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Grace Turner, he later saw her name on her desk, was a junior systems assistant. She didn't wear makeup or flashy jewelry. Her laptop had a cracked corner. But she looked sincere. As he swept nearby, she looked up and gave a gentle nod. "Good afternoon, sir." Ethan blinked. Did she just call him sir? Good afternoon, he said, startled. "I see you around a lot." "You work really hard," she added with a smile. "Thank you. That's kind of you." She held his gaze for a moment and said softly, "May God bless your hands." Ethan froze. No one had ever said that to him, not even when he gave millions away. He whispered, "Amen, and may he bless yours too." That moment stuck with him for the rest of the day. As he sat alone that night in a modest rental apartment downtown, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Grace. Her voice, her words, her eyes. She had seen him, not the billionaire, not the janitor. Just him. When Marcus arrived later that evening with dinner, he saw the look on Ethan's face. "What happened?" Marcus asked, handing him a takeout bag. "I think I met someone," Ethan replied quietly. "Wait, already?" She didn't flinch. She smiled. She spoke with kindness. She even blessed my hands. Marcus raised a brow. "You think she's real?" Ethan stared out the window. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." The next morning, Ethan arrived early again, before most staff had even poured their first cup of coffee. He clocked in as Eli the janitor, tied his gloves, filled his mop bucket, and started cleaning Lobby A. But this time, his eyes were searching. He kept glancing toward the elevator that led to the second floor, the IT department, where he knew Grace Turner worked. Something about her stuck with him. Her calm demeanor, her sincerity, that quiet strength. By mid-morning, he saw her again. Grace passed through the hallway carrying a small box of documents. Her steps were light, her face calm. She greeted the front desk receptionist, helped someone pick up spilled papers, and smiled through it all, genuinely. She didn't notice Ethan mopping by the corner, but he didn't mind. He observed from a distance, wanting to learn how she treated others when she wasn't being watched. That afternoon in the cafeteria, he mopped near her table again. She was eating a homemade sandwich. Her phone had a cracked screen. Her bag had a loose strap tied with string. But she still smiled and waved politely when he walked by. "Hi again," she said, sipping from a reusable water bottle. "Hi," he replied. "Rough shift." "Always," he chuckled. "But your smile helps." She laughed lightly. "Well, everyone needs encouragement." Just then, Eric Baldwin, the company's chief operating officer, strolled into the cafeteria wearing his usual designer suit and smug expression. He barely noticed Ethan as he passed, but his eyes stopped on Grace. Eric had noticed her a few times recently. Her simplicity intrigued him. She wasn't like the flashy assistants who fawned over him. She didn't flirt. She didn't beg. That made her a challenge. He walked up to her table. "Grace, right?" She looked up, surprised. "Yes, sir. I don't think we've officially met. I'm Eric. I run most of the day-to-day here." "I know." "It's nice to meet you," she said cautiously. "You're different from the rest," he said with a grin. "Quiet. Smart, not chasing every dollar like the others." Grace stayed polite but silent. Eric leaned a bit closer. "I like that. Maybe we should talk more outside of work." "I prefer to keep things professional," she replied firmly. Ethan, watching from a distance, felt something stir in his chest. Eric smirked. "Fair enough, for now." He walked off, leaving behind tension in the air. Grace shook her head and finished her lunch in silence. Ethan clenched his jaw. He didn't like what he saw, but he couldn't blow his cover, not yet. That evening, Ethan met with Marcus Dean at a quiet diner near the pier. "I want to know everything about her," Ethan said. "What she studied, where she lives, her financial situation. But do it quietly." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You're going all in?" She gave her water bottle to an old janitor. "She blesses people's hands?" "She's different." Marcus pulled out a small notebook. "Already started digging. She lives in a small shared apartment in the Richmond district. Walks to work, eats homemade lunch every day." Ethan nodded slowly. "She doesn't even use company transport?" "Nope." "What about her rent?" "Behind by 2 months." "Landlord's been patient, but for how long?" Ethan leaned forward. "Pay the next 6 months, but anonymously." I want her to breathe a little. You sure? Yes. And find out why she's still junior level in IT. She's smarter than half the execs in this building. Marcus smirked. Boss, you're falling. Ethan smiled softly. No, I'm waking up. The next morning, Grace arrived at her apartment building to find her landlord standing outside, arms crossed but smiling. Morning, Grace, he said warmly. Morning, sir. Guess what? He said, holding up a receipt. Your rent's paid. 6 full months. Someone cleared it yesterday. Grace's jaw dropped. What? Who? No name. Said to tell you you're not alone. That's it. Tears welled up in her eyes. Are you serious? Dead serious. Counted every dollar myself. You must have made someone's life better, young lady. She whispered, Thank you, God, and walked to work with her heart lighter than it had felt in years. Back at the office, Grace took her usual break in the back hallway. Ethan was cleaning windows nearby. She walked up to him, smiling. You won't believe what happened this morning, she said. He looked up. What's that? My landlord told me someone paid my rent. 6 months, no name. Just kindness. Ethan acted surprised. That's amazing. I wish I could thank them, she said quietly. I don't get help often. But someone saw me. That means something. He smiled. Maybe one day you'll know who it was. She looked at him curiously. You're always so kind for a janitor. He laughed. It costs nothing to be kind. She nodded slowly. Then you must be the richest man here. If only she knew. The days passed, and Ethan kept showing up early. He swept hallways, mopped floors, wiped windows, and watched Grace from a distance. She never acted like she was better than anyone. She greeted every janitor with a smile. She shared her lunch with the elderly mailroom clerk. She even helped a new intern who dropped his laptop on the elevator floor. But Ethan wasn't the only one watching her. Eric Baldwin, the COO, had grown increasingly interested in Grace. He didn't like being ignored, and Grace's quiet dignity only made her more attractive in his twisted mind. She wasn't the type to flirt for attention, which made her feel like a prize he had to win. One afternoon, Grace stayed late to finish some database cleanup. The office had emptied out. She was packing her bag when Eric stepped into her cubicle without knocking. You work too hard, he said, with a smug smile. Grace looked up, startled. I'm just trying to finish before tomorrow's deadline. Eric leaned against her desk. You know, you don't have to struggle like this. I could make your life a lot easier. Grace stood slowly. Sir, I don't understand. He reached into his coat pocket and placed a sleek new smartphone on her desk, still in its box. I noticed your phone's cracked. Take this. It's yours. She stared at it without touching it. I can't accept that. You can, and you should, he said, his voice low. There's more where that came from, if you play your cards right. Grace's heart pounded. No, thank you, she said, her voice firm. I'd rather earn what I get. Eric's smile vanished. Don't be stupid, Grace. Women like you don't get far unless they're smart enough to use their opportunities. She grabbed her bag. Then I guess I'm not smart enough. She walked out, heart racing. Ethan, still in disguise as Eli, saw her rush into the back hallway, eyes red and hands shaking. He dropped his mop and ran to her. Grace? She stopped, wiped her face quickly, and tried to smile. Hey, she said softly. What's wrong? I'm fine. No, you're not. She hesitated, then exhaled deeply. It's Eric. He tried to give me a phone, said he could make my life easier if I got close to him. Ethan clenched his fists. He said that to you? Please don't say anything, she whispered, placing a hand on his arm. He's the COO. He could fire me. I don't care what his title is, Ethan said, jaw tight. He crossed the line. I've worked too hard to lose this job, she whispered. Please don't make it worse. Ethan looked her in the eyes. He's not the only one with power. She blinked, confused. What do you mean? He didn't answer. Instead, he gently said, Go home. Rest. Let me handle this. That night, Ethan paced in his apartment. He wanted to confront Eric right then and there, but Marcus calmed him down. Timing, Marcus said. Expose him too early, and he'll deny everything. Wait until you have proof, or until he does it again. Guys like him always repeat themselves. Ethan nodded. Then I'll be ready. The next morning, Grace entered the office to a surprise. Her manager handed her an envelope. You've been promoted, he said. What? She blinked. You're now a senior technical assistant. Salary increase. Bigger desk, plus an apartment package and travel stipend. Grace was speechless. Are you serious? Very. The decision came from the top. You've earned it. She stood frozen, tears forming in her eyes, her heart filled with gratitude and confusion. Who had done this? She grabbed her things and hurried to the back hallway. Ethan was wiping glass doors when she found him. Guess what? She said, eyes shining. What? I just got promoted. A real raise. An apartment. Everything. It just happened. Ethan smiled warmly. You deserve all of it. Grace grabbed his hand for a second. I still don't know who's behind these blessings, but whoever it is, I hope they know I'm grateful. He nodded. Maybe they already do. As she walked away, Ethan whispered to himself, and that's just the beginning. Grace had barely slept. Even after the unexpected promotion, the apartment offer, and the kind words from her manager, her mind kept circling the same question. Who was behind all of this? She didn't think of herself as someone special. She was quiet, did her work, and tried not to bother anyone. She wasn't flashy. She didn't kiss up to supervisors. So why now? Why the blessings, one after another? And why did the janitor always show up when her world was shifting? That week at work, her new title came with a new desk, closer to the executive wing. She wasn't used to the view, the new responsibilities, or the sudden attention. Some people congratulated her sincerely, but others only stared. One of them was Vanessa Clark, the HR manager. Vanessa was sharp, glamorous, and always perfectly dressed. She had noticed Grace before, always walking alone, wearing cheap shoes, eating plain lunches. Vanessa never paid her much attention until now. Now Grace had a bigger office, a corporate apartment. And even worse, Eric Baldwin, who used to flirt with Vanessa, had started watching Grace more than usual. That made Vanessa curious and bitter. One afternoon, Vanessa cornered Grace at the coffee station. So, Vanessa began, smiling too sweetly. How's the new desk? Grace turned. It's good, thanks. Must feel amazing. Going from a cracked laptop and thrift store heels to an executive apartment and company perks overnight. Vanessa sipped her coffee, eyes never leaving Grace. Grace blinked. I just do my work. Vanessa leaned in slightly. Sure you do, but let me give you a little advice, woman to woman. Be careful who you share your lunch with. Grace tilted her head. Excuse me? The janitor, Vanessa said with a slight laugh. Eli, cute in a sad kind of way, right? Grace didn't respond. Vanessa continued. Just strange how your life turned around right after you started chatting with him. I mean, first your rent gets paid, then a promotion, then a new place. And now you're walking around smiling like you hit the jackpot. Grace's face fell. I'm just saying, Vanessa whispered, stepping closer. Don't let a janitor play you for a fool. Some guys know how to act sweet until they get what they want. Then she walked away, heels clicking. The words stuck. That night, Grace sat in her new apartment, staring out the window. She didn't want to believe what Vanessa said. Eli had always been kind, quiet, gentle. He never asked for anything. He never made a move. But was that the trick? Was he waiting until she felt safe? She picked up her phone, opened the text thread she had with him, and stared. It was all short messages. Good morning. You got this. Hope your day went well. Nothing romantic. Nothing pushy. Just thoughtful. But that made it worse. Because it meant maybe Vanessa was right. Maybe she had been emotionally played without even realizing it. The next few days at work, Grace acted differently. She still smiled, but her smiles were smaller. She still greeted Eli, but avoided lingering. When he walked past, she glanced away. When he asked if she was okay, she nodded but didn't explain. Ethan felt it immediately. One morning, while mopping near the stairwell, he saw her walking down from the second floor. He straightened up. "Grace, hey." She paused. "Hey." He waited for her to say more, but she didn't. She gave a tight smile and kept walking. He stood there for a few seconds, confused and a little hurt. That evening, in his apartment, Ethan sat with Marcus. "She's pulling away," Ethan said. Marcus leaned forward. "Did something happen?" "Not from me. I've kept my distance." But something changed. Marcus rubbed his chin. "People talk, Ethan. It only takes one jealous person to plant a bad seed." Ethan sighed. "So now she thinks I'm using her." "Can you blame her?" Marcus said gently. "You're a billionaire pretending to be a janitor. She's getting blessed from every angle and doesn't know who's behind it." "If I were her, I'd be suspicious too." Ethan nodded slowly. "You're right. So what are you going to do?" "I'm going to give her space," Ethan said. "But if someone is poisoning her heart, I'll deal with that." The next day, Ethan mopped in silence. His eyes were on Grace, but her eyes weren't on him. Vanessa watched from a distance, smiling to herself. But what she didn't know was that her game had just started a countdown. Grace was quieter than usual. She came to work, did her job, and went home. She stopped eating lunch in the cafeteria and started bringing headphones to avoid small talk. She still smiled at Ethan, but now it was the kind of smile you give to a stranger at the grocery store. Distant, polite, careful. Ethan felt every cold glance like a slap. He had no proof, but deep down, he knew someone had poisoned her mind, and all signs pointed to Vanessa Clark. Vanessa, who suddenly had a lot to say about janitors overstepping boundaries. Vanessa, who laughed too loudly near Grace's desk. Vanessa, who had once tried to flirt with Ethan during board meetings years ago, back when she didn't know who he really was. He had stayed silent long enough. That Friday, Ethan asked Marcus to dig deeper into Vanessa's HR history. It didn't take long. "Turns out," Marcus said, handing Ethan a folder, "our friend Vanessa has been busy." The folder included a past sexual harassment complaint from a junior assistant that mysteriously disappeared. Unauthorized salary increases to male interns she had mentored. A pattern of intimidating emails sent to female staff who refused to socialize with upper management. Ethan read each file with clenched teeth. "She's not just gossiping," he said. "She's a predator," Marcus nodded. "Want me to send this to legal?" "No," Ethan said, standing. "I'll handle it myself." That afternoon, Vanessa strutted through the reception area in 6-inch heels, smiling as she passed Ethan mopping the floor. She glanced down at him, gave a smirk, and said loud enough for others to hear, "Still here, Eli? Thought maybe you'd gotten yourself promoted like some people." Ethan looked up. I'm exactly where I need to be. She blinked. There was something different in his voice, more grounded, sharper. Then he stood straight, locked eyes with her, and said calmly, "We need to talk. Privately." Vanessa raised a brow. "Excuse me." He nodded toward an empty meeting room. "Now?" She rolled her eyes and followed him inside. Inside the room, Ethan closed the door and dropped the janitor act. "You think I don't know what you've been doing to Grace?" he said, voice clear and cold. Vanessa's face twitched. "I don't know what you're talking about. You spread lies, made her doubt me. Tried to break her spirit just because you couldn't control her." Vanessa scoffed. "Oh, please. She was gullible." "And what are you even doing? Flirting with her while mopping floors?" "That's pathetic." Ethan stepped closer. "No. What's pathetic is a woman in HR using her position to harass, threaten, and manipulate other women just because she sees them as competition." Vanessa's eyes widened slightly. "You better be careful with your accusations." "I don't make accusations," Ethan replied, placing a printed page on the table. "I bring proof." She glanced down. Her face changed instantly. It was the complaint filed by a former assistant, one she thought had been deleted years ago. "And that's just one," Ethan continued. "There's more, a lot more. If you don't resign quietly by Monday, I'll make sure every board member sees what you've done." Vanessa swallowed hard. "You think you're someone now?" she spat. "You're still just a janitor." Ethan smiled, and for the first time his voice held the full weight of who he really was. "Maybe you should start asking who I really am." He walked out, leaving her pale and shaken. Later that evening, Grace found Ethan near the back hallway again. She hesitated, then stepped closer. "You look different today," she said. Ethan gave a small smile. "Maybe I just stopped hiding." Grace tilted her head. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer, not yet, but then she said something unexpected. "Vanessa hasn't been near me all day." "Good," Ethan said. "You deserve peace." She looked down. "I've been distant lately." "I let someone get in my head. I'm sorry." Ethan shook his head gently. "You don't owe me anything." She stepped closer. "Actually, I think I do." Their eyes met, and for the first time in days, her smile reached her eyes again. That weekend, Grace invited Ethan to her new apartment for the first time. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. The place wasn't fancy, but it was clean, cozy, and smelled of cinnamon tea. She had cooked a simple dinner, grilled chicken, rice, and steamed vegetables. Nothing special, but to Ethan, it felt like home. They talked about everything: childhood memories, awkward work moments, even their favorite movies. And for the first time, they laughed without tension. No rumors. No fear. No masks. But there was still one truth Ethan hadn't told her. As he helped clear the table, Grace turned to him and said, "Eli, or whatever your real name is." Ethan froze. She smiled gently. "I know you're not just a janitor." He looked stunned. "What makes you say that?" "You see too much, speak too wisely. And when Vanessa suddenly vanished from my life, I knew it wasn't a coincidence." Ethan took a deep breath. "Grace." "You don't have to explain," she cut in softly. "I'm not asking for your secret. I'm just saying thank you." He looked at her for a long time, then said, "I promise I'll tell you everything. Just give me one more day." She nodded. "I trust you." But across the city, danger was brewing. Eric Baldwin hadn't taken his defeat quietly. After Grace rejected him and Vanessa mysteriously disappeared from HR, he grew suspicious. Who was this janitor she kept talking to? Why did Grace get promoted overnight? And how did HR suddenly have dirt on Vanessa after years of cover-ups? Eric started digging. Then one morning, he overheard two junior staffers chatting. "That janitor guy, Eli? I heard he got the COO fired at his last company." "No way." "He's just a cleaner." That's what they said. But weird stuff happens around him, like good people get promoted. Bad people vanish. Eric's face turned pale. That evening, Grace was walking home alone after picking up groceries. She turned the corner into her street and stopped. Eric was leaning against the wall near her apartment gate. "Hello, Grace," he said. She froze. "What are you doing here?" "I came to warn you." "Warn me?" she asked sharply. "Yes," he said, stepping closer. "That janitor you've been spending time with, he's not who you think he is. He's dangerous." Grace's heart pounded. "You don't know anything about him." "I know enough," Eric sneered. "He's been manipulating this company from the inside." "You think you just got lucky?" "No. He made you his project." Grace took a step back. "You're lying." Eric's eyes darkened. "Am I? Then ask him why he's always around when people get fired. Ask him why he knows everyone's business. He's playing God, and you're just a pawn." She turned away quickly and rushed into the building. Her groceries dropped behind her, but she didn't stop. Inside, she paced her living room. Her chest tightened. She didn't want to believe Eric, but the timing, the rumors, the silence from Ethan, it all spun in her head. Later that night, Ethan texted, "Can we talk tomorrow? I have something important to show you." Grace didn't reply right away. Her heart was too tangled. She stared out the window and whispered, "Please don't be lying to me." Meanwhile, in a downtown law office, Marcus handed a sealed envelope to the company's board secretary. "Deliver this to the board before tomorrow's general meeting," Marcus said. "What is it?" "The truth." The next morning, an urgent company-wide email went out. "All employees, mandatory meeting at 10 a.m. in the main conference hall. Attendance is required." No one knew what it was about. But when Ethan walked into the building dressed in the same janitor uniform and stepped toward the front of the hall, the truth was seconds from exploding. The company's main conference hall buzzed with confusion. Every desk was empty. Every worker had been summoned. Department heads whispered among themselves. Grace sat in the middle row, heart racing. And at the front of the room, standing quietly in his janitor uniform, was Eli. Or rather, the man she was about to discover wasn't Eli at all. "Why is the janitor up there?" someone whispered. "Is this some kind of HR drill? Where's the CEO?" Just then, the head of security walked in and stood beside Ethan. Silence fell. Then the projector screen behind them lit up with the company's logo, followed by a single sentence. "Meet the true owner of Westbridge Technologies." Gasps echoed across the room. Grace sat forward, frozen. Ethan stepped up to the podium. Slowly, he removed his cap, then his glasses, then his jacket. The room went quiet. "I'm not here to scare anyone," he said calmly. "I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm not Eli. My name is Ethan Cole, and I am the founder and majority shareholder of this company." A heavy pause. Someone in the back dropped their coffee. "I came here months ago disguised as a janitor, because I wanted to know how people behave when they think you have nothing to offer them. I was tired of being treated like a wallet, like a status symbol. I wanted to see people's true hearts." He scanned the room. "I watched how employees treated each other, how they treated the janitorial staff, the drivers, the cafeteria workers. Some of you were kind. Some were not." He looked directly at Eric Baldwin, who had just arrived and was now frozen near the entrance. "Mr. Baldwin," Ethan said, voice sharp. "You're officially terminated, effective immediately." Two security guards stepped forward. Eric's face went pale. You can't do this." "I already did," Ethan said. Your abuse of power is over. We have witnesses.
Records, and one brave woman who refused to give in to your threats. All eyes turned to Grace. She covered her mouth.
Ethan continued, "But I didn't just come here to fire people. I came here to find something real." He turned slowly to face her. "Grace." She looked up, eyes wide. "From the very first time you smiled at me, from across the cafeteria while I was mopping the floor, you made me feel seen. Not as a billionaire. Not as a boss, but as a man." He stepped down from the podium and walked toward her, the entire room holding its breath. "You didn't just show kindness. You showed heart. You fed me when you had little. You stood tall when others tried to buy you. You were never impressed by power, but you always respected people." He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. Gasps and phones came out everywhere. He dropped to one knee. "Grace Turner, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her cheeks. She stood slowly, hands shaking, and whispered, "Yes." The room erupted into cheers. People clapped, some cried, others just stood there, stunned. Ethan placed the ring on her finger, then stood and pulled her into the softest, most genuine embrace. They didn't just find love. They found truth. Months later, their wedding was featured in national news, not because Ethan Cole was a billionaire, but because his bride had once shared half her lunch with a janitor, not knowing she was feeding the man who would change her life forever. Together, Ethan and Grace led the company, not with fear or ego, but with compassion. And yes, they lived happily ever after. What would you do if the janitor turned out to be the CEO? Did Grace make the right choice? Drop your thoughts in the comments, rate this story 1 to 10, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a twist like this again.